A subscriber posed the question to me, is straw bale gardening worthwhile? Now I thought that was a really interesting question and something worth discussing, because I use three forms of gardening overall. I have the straw bale gardening here that you see that I use exclusively in the greenhouse actually, and I have garden beds where I use a no-dig green waste compost method, and also a larger area that is cultivated. Now, to make a comparison between them, we need to look at what's involved in each one and what the advantages are. I'll try and do a little bit of a cost estimate in terms of the dollars that go into the method, and we can do a little bit of comparison and see what is best financially and what works best. So first, looking at this straw bale, you'll see it's growing fantastically. Now some of you will have seen where I conditioned these bales. I'll have a video on that, and also planting them. I'll put links to those so that you can have a look at those. The result, I'm growing here tomatoes and cucumbers. You'll see a cucumber here, and we've been harvesting lots and lots of these cucumbers. This particular variety is called Muncher. It's a Lebanese type cucumber. It's the first time I've grown it, and it won't be the last time. It's a beautiful cucumber and we've really been enjoying it. Haven't we, Samuel? Yeah, yummy cucumbers. Can you carry that over there now?
Where?
Okay, get over there somewhere and put it down. Thank you. Now the chief advantages of the straw bale is that it keeps a lot of moisture. It holds moisture in the bales, and so that's the reason I choose to use it here in the greenhouse, where moisture is evaporated very quickly. The ground dries out really fast in the hot environment. Now you see these tomatoes, they're growing so well that they're actually pushing the plastic up. Nothing ripening yet, but that'll come fairly soon. There'll be lots and lots of tomatoes. I've got two varieties in here. The main one though is Gardener's Delight, which is a oval cherry tomato type and grows to a reasonable size, but not a really small one. Now cost wise on this bed, I have approximately 2 square meters here, 5 bales growing, and I did a bit of an estimate. The 5 bales cost me $15, $3 a bale, and in terms of blood and bone that I used to actually condition the bales, I probably used around $6 or $7. So we could easily say $22 total, or $11 a square metre. So while you're actually spending that much money, there is a secondary benefit with straw bale, and that is that you're creating compost. You're adding those components of the straw, which is carbon, and the nitrogen from the blood and bone to actually create compost on the fly, so to speak, to feed the plants. But the end result is that you're enriching the soil. Now if we look at this bed here, this is where I grew my tomatoes by a straw bale method last year, and this year everything in it is absolutely thriving, even though it is not, strictly speaking, straw bale anymore. It's growing on that residual compost. You just see the colour in this parsley and how well I've got in here capsicums and eggplants growing, and the plants are really thriving and loving what's in the soil. So that secondary benefit I think is really good. The other benefit was that the straw bale was really good to start seeds and plants early because of the heat generated in that composting process. Outside here in the main kitchen garden, you might call it, where I have raised beds, I have around 18 square meters in a total of 8 raised beds, and for the last year I've been trialing a no-dig or minimal dig form of gardening, which uses a couple of inches, so 50 millimeters of green waste compost, just placed on the surface once a year, generally only once a year. Occasionally I'll get a second lot on, depending on what I'm growing. This is a method which is espoused by Charles Dowding, and you can see his videos on YouTube, and he's got some really fantastic videos on this form of gardening. Now I find it really good. Yes, Samuel?
Can I eat the purple one?
You may. I find it a really good form of gardening because it is really low in labour. Now, it has a fair cost though. So if we look at the costs here, of 18 square metres, as I said, of bed, I use probably 1 cubic metre of compost a year over this area. Now that's a cost of probably $60, and I still do add some blood and bone to it, probably only $5 or $6 though, $10 at the most. So if we were to say $70 or so cost, probably about $4 a square metre, shall we say, to round it out. The advantages of this method are that it is low in labour, as I said before, and also there's very little weeding to be done. The compost suppresses the weeds very effectively. You still get some, but it's very minimal. It's about like straw bale in that characteristic, that there's not a lot of weeds to deal with. At a cost of $4 a square metre as against $11 a square metre for the straw bale is a lot lower. You are building the soil really well in this method. Also, I've found that seed germination is fantastic. If you see these carrots that I've grown here this year, they germinated so well, and also the beetroot, really great seed germination. So pretty much everything that I'm growing in these beds, and I've got a bit of variety this year in here. You'll see there's lettuce, there's leeks, zucchinis, the climbing beans, and parsnips, silver beet. These things are doing really well. There's also fairly good moisture retention because the compost acts as a mulch on top of the soil. Now the third type of gardening that I use here is traditional cultivation. I have 3 areas. There's this one here, another which currently has potatoes, and another one with the tomatoes and some more potatoes in. There's probably a total of 120 square metres that I grow using this traditional cultivation method. Now I use a rotary hoe, or a small rotary hoe, or tiller, whatever you like to call it. You could dig this by hand, it'd be a lot of labour, but using the mechanical methods still is quite physical, and it takes time. It also requires the machinery to do it. So when I cost this, I have to factor into it the purchase cost and maintenance costs, fuel, which probably are a much greater component than the amount of fertiliser which I would use on it. It's fairly rough figures because I've never kept anything in detail, but I would estimate that I'm spending probably $180 a year over that 120 square metres, and that's probably $1.50, we'll say in round figures $1.50 a square metre. Now the crops that I grow in this are different. I'm growing things that need space, like these pumpkins, and while we're on these pumpkins, this is small sugar, and I'm really happy with the results. If you have a look at the pumpkins that are already forming in here, there's lots and lots of them, and they are looking really fantastic. I also love the flowers on these pumpkins, they're really beautiful. It's the first time I've grown this pumpkin, and I'm really happy with what's coming along there. But to get back to the subject, this method of gardening suits the larger scale crops that require more space, and crops that you do have to end up digging, like potatoes, because let's face it, you have to dig them out and it frees up the soil anyway, so cultivation works quite efficiently with potatoes. But this is, as I say, it is lower on cost at $1.50 a square metre, but it's a lot heavier on labour. There's a lot more of my effort that goes into this type of gardening than the straw bale or the green waste compost. They are lower on effort, but they're higher in a dollar factor. However, that dollar factor hides the resource and the effort that goes into creating something like green waste compost. If you think about the machinery and the fuel that goes into actually making that, it's quite a bit, and we shouldn't disregard that. So to summarise and answer our original question, is straw bale gardening worthwhile? In terms of a dollar figure, it is by far the most expensive. In terms of results, it is outstanding, but I think that it really does suit certain situations. The one that I'm using here I think is ideal, which is growing in this environment where it is hot, dries out quickly, that I have in the greenhouse. I think it's great here in the greenhouse where I can achieve early starts and accelerated growth and utilize that moisture reserve that's in the bales. And doing it on the small scale, I'm improving bed by bed as I rotate through my beds here in the greenhouse. I'm improving the soil, and on that small scale I think it's worthwhile. But would I grow all my garden using straw bale? No, I wouldn't, because it'd be quite expensive to do that on an ongoing basis. However, where I think straw bale would really shine would be in the process of establishing a new garden, and I would use it for this too. If I was establishing a new garden across lawn or pasture, I'd simply mow the ground, put down something like newspaper, straw bale beds, condition them, probably put wood chip in between the beds, and you'd have an instant garden, and you would have improvement to the soil where you could then come on the following year or years, use a green waste compost on those beds at a cheaper rate and actually keep on growing and have good success. My choice of methods out of the three that I'm using at the moment really is the green waste compost no dig method, because it is low in labour, the cost is reasonable, and the results are excellent. But to actually extend that across my entire garden becomes difficult because the cost is then quite high. What I would really need to do is to establish a source of all-in wood chip, so that's wood chip that has not only the wood but the bark and the leaves in it as well, that could be composted and spread across a larger area, that would be cheaper than actually buying the commercial green waste compost. I haven't done that yet. It may happen in the future, I don't know. But that would be the way in which I'd ideally garden the whole lot using that method. But until then, I will continue to use some cultivation, some non-cultivation, and also some straw bale in that appropriate condition. So you have to make the choice as to what method works for you. If you haven't seen Charles Dowding's videos on no-dig gardening, go and have a look, because there's some really good information there and you'll really enjoy them.